Some days, it doesn't feel like 10 years. Since the chaos, the confusion, the crushing grief. When we first went on TV, we knew it was bad.
You're taking a look at live pictures right now. So many injured in this shooting. We do not have a specific number.
We had no idea how terribly it would end.
And it is with great sadness that I share we have not 20 but 50 casualties. In addition to the shooter, there are another 53 that are hospitalized.
Replaying the details of the night is hard for the families, the survivors, and so many in Central Florida who felt touched by what happened at Pulse. But this is what happened. Just after 2 a.m., as Pulse nightclub began to wind down its Latin night, a man with an automatic weapon opened fire on the packed dance floor. There were as many as 300 people inside and around the club. Those that could ran out the main door, outdoors to an enclosed patio, to the back of the club, into bathrooms.
Bar security was a lone off-duty police officer. He called for backup as the shooting began. But dozens of patrons were already shot, and the shooter was deep into the nightclub at this point. He shot people hiding in bathrooms. He even called 911, and he stayed in the club threatening to set off bombs until the Orange County SWAT team breached the back wall of Pulse just after 5 a.m.
People are also inside of that restroom with them. And just on live TV, I'm not sure if you guys were able to hear that back at the station. And Pete, we can point that direction, but we just heard a loud explosion.
Orlando woke up that Sunday morning to heartbreak. 49 people dead and more than 50 in the hospital, some with gruesome, life-altering injuries. The outpouring of support was instant. Blood donation centers were overrun by everyone wanting to donate.
Many people's lives have been affected forever, and our community has been affected forever.
Compensation funds were set up and people donated generously to ensure victims had some financial help in the aftermath.
No amount of money is ever enough to replace a life.
But as the morning began, questions started bubbling up. In the first days and weeks, there were questions about the club itself. Multiple media outlets, including WESH 2, reported on accusations about the fence that enclosed Pulse and issues with the exits.
Now, according to a text message exchange between city leaders, there are questions about exit doors being blocked.
But the weight of what happened, the vigils, the funerals, the desire to lift up the LGBTQ community took over. Peace, love, Pulse. As the days and months passed, we became Orlando Strong.
Orlando Strong! Pulse was now the site of the nation's largest mass shooting, and once it was no longer a crime scene, questions about what it should become filled the community. The land, the building, all privately owned by Barbara and Rosario Poma, Pulse's owners. As talk of a memorial began, the city of Orlando made an overture, buy out the owners for more than $2 million to get a memorial built. But when two city commissioners balked at the purchase price.
Have you had a specific, someone saying, it's too much money?
Yep.
The Pomas walked away from the deal.
It wasn't about price for me. You couldn't put a price on it for me.
And so began the One Pulse Foundation. In late 2016, the foundation introduced itself. The purpose initially to help survivors and victims' families, and built a memorial to the 49 killed at Pulse. Barbara Poma, Pulse's owner, was the founder. In the early days, they hosted fundraising events and tried to find their footing. Board members were recruited, financial support sought from across the U.S. They developed the Rainbow Run, a 4.9K race meant as a remembrance of the Pulse victims, as well as a fundraiser. Proceeds would support a scholarship fund, with one given for each of the 49 killed at Pulse.
We have not forgotten what you've endured and what you are still enduring.
But as annual ceremonies were held commemorating June 12th, fractures were developing within the community. Support for survivors was running out. The initial medical bills were paid, but wounds like the ones inflicted at Pulse take time to heal. Doctors, therapy, medication, costing more than many survivors had. And some families were not satisfied with the police response, with answers from the city about the state of Pulse, and with Barbara Poma now running a foundation that would dictate how their loved ones would be remembered.
That my role is to ensure that Pulse become a place of healing.
Things came to a head when plans for the One Pulse-backed memorial were announced. Millions of dollars spent on a design that many felt was out of scope for the lot along Orange Avenue. And then there was the museum. Renderings showed a towering building less than a mile from Pulse. Some loved the idea of a place to reflect on the history of the LGBTQ community.
Just leave the memorial, make a memorial, no museum, no nothing.
Others saw it as out of touch. Detractors called it death tourism.
Museo al terror. Lo que van a hacer es un circo del terror.
The grand plans came with a rising price tag. After the design reveal, One Pulse began a campaign to raise $49 million.
But then 2020 and the pandemic changed everything. As material costs increased and fundraising slowed to a halt, internally, One Pulse was projecting a $100 million project.
That was it for me. That was it.
And that was too much for some within the organization. High-level staff departures began as we neared the 5-year remembrance mark. And as WESH 2 began working on stories of survivors, the friction within the Pulse community became public.
Everything that's going on nonprofit-wise with Pulse that everyone sees kind of has nothing to do with, actually I can take the kind of out, it has nothing to do with the survivors.
A small but vocal group of survivors and family members were beginning to organize, pushing back on the memorial and museum plans, as well as revisiting the questions about Pulse's safety from the early days of the attack.
As all of this happened publicly, internally, One Pulse's biggest fracture yet was developing. In the summer of 2022, founder Barbara Poma was removed as the executive director of the foundation, and within 9 months, she'd be out of the organization entirely. At the heart of it, whether the Pomas would donate the Pulse property for the memorial or if they expected to be paid for it. Meanwhile, calls for investigations grew louder. Some survivors and grieving families again wanting answers about the allegations of unpermitted renovations and code violations and how One Pulse was spending its donated funds. Even after Barbara Poma was out of the foundation, the accusations persisted, all of it impacting One Pulse's ability to raise money.
There's a lot that's happened. The organization has not been able to raise the money in the period of 6 years to build the projects.
In the fall of 2023, One Pulse's board of directors took dire action. They sold a lot purchased for the memorial in order to pay back state grants and turned over another property to Orange County to repay a tourism tax grant. Then, just before Thanksgiving,
tonight the One Pulse Foundation says it will not go on.
The board voted to dissolve the nonprofit. After fundraising and grants of roughly $20 million, One Pulse closed in debt and with nothing to show for the promised memorial to the victims of the Pulse attack.
We are singularly focused on making sure that the memorial is completed, and it is completed on the Pulse nightclub site.
Concerned about what might happen to the property, the city of Orlando stepped in at the end of 2023 and brokered a deal to buy Pulse from the Pomas. In the end, it was practically the same deal that fell apart between the city and the Pomas back in 2016. Under the city's control, a task force was formed to figure out what would happen to Pulse. Victims' family members, survivors, and community leaders applied to join.
Like so many other things connected to Pulse, the process was rocky. The same detractors claimed the memorial process was fixed, saying those directly impacted by Pulse didn't have enough input or seats at the table. The committee worked to develop concepts of a memorial.
Should the building stay or go or in between?
And give advice on whether the nightclub building should remain.
I don't think the building should be torn down until there's a proper third-party investigation.
Or be demolished.
We can't dwell in the past. If we want to move forward, we have to look to the future.
Ultimately, that was the decision. Knock down the building, where 49 people lost their lives to make way for a memorial.
In the days leading up to the 9-year remembrance, families and survivors were given the chance to walk inside Pulse. Dozens made the journey. many did not. Then, in March of this year, nearly a decade after the massacre that changed the city, the Pulse nightclub, a rundown shell of the vibrant safe haven it once was for so many, was torn down to make way for a permanent memorial. The passing years have done little to bring peace to those touched by Pulse. Broken promises and the lack of a proper memorial, a place to mourn and honor the victims and survivors, left many feeling forgotten.
This design really has their fingerprints on it.
The plans aren't finalized yet, but the city-backed permanent memorial appears to be on track for a groundbreaking this fall.
It's supposed to be about unity, about love, for our children.
After 7 months of emotional discussions, the Pulse Memorial Advisory Committee, made up of family members, survivors, and community members, came up with concepts of a design. The committee wanted the final design to include a memorial and reflection space, survivors' commons, private gathering space, angel ellipse site, a healing prism garden, a reflection pool, and visitor pavilion. Now architects and builders are working to bring that design to life.
Grief never ends. Nobody wants to hear that. But it does evolve, and we're trying to make space for that.
At the most recent public meeting, the companies unveiled the latest design renderings, now 60% complete.
We're taking components from the original building. For example, a section of the dance floor itself will be placed at the foundation of the reflecting pool itself to tie it in, to make it personal. We're looking to salvaging much of the concrete work and placing it everywhere throughout this site.
But the plans continue to bring criticism.
How does reusing crime scene materials respect the victims and survivors who bled and died in the restrooms and on the dance floor? Will the reflecting pool include any floorboards permanently stained by blood, or will those be excluded?
We asked the mayor about the pushback from survivors and victims' loved ones.
There's certainly going to be, I wouldn't say there are major changes, but there will be modifications and things. One of the most important things we've done, and our staff has done yeoman's work in terms of they've been able to contact all 49 families to get exactly how they would like the name of their loved one.
Those same opponents of the memorial have also been calling for criminal investigations into the safety of the Pulse nightclub. 2 years ago, they filed police reports with Orlando police. The investigation was closed, citing no reckless disregard for human life or disregard for the safety of others. Then, a year ago, they delivered a deeply researched report to the state attorney's office, hoping for a new investigation. Just last week, Monique Worrell met with the group, telling them there is no case. The evidence does not rise to the threshold to bring charges and win. So now they are asking for the Florida legislature to convene an independent commission, like it did in Parkland, to probe any specific and systematic failures.
I have a lot of lingering questions about how we got to this place. And I think a lot of people do. And for me, it's not about, shame or anything like that. It's about accountability. It's about honesty. It's about transparency. And again, I think healing requires real reconciliation. It requires the hard conversations, the tough questions.
For Pulse survivor Brandon Wolf, 10 years is long enough. He wants to see those conversations happen now with people of power and privilege.
Law enforcement agencies did a review of the processes in place when the Pulse tragedy happened. Their own analysis of what happened showed that they failed on a number of fronts, that their refusal to enter the building for hours got over a dozen people killed, that they're not really sure where all of the bullets went that were fired from their own guns. There are open questions about whether or not their active shooter policy was sufficient. There are open questions about how a man like that could get access to guns like that in the first place, and why those laws never changed in the wake of what happened at Pulse nightclub.
After years of working in Washington, D.C., fighting for LGBTQ equality and gun control, Brandon is bringing that fight back to Orlando, working with Equality Florida.
I think Florida has to be the starting point for what resilience and resistance looks like in this country.
He says accountability isn't just about the past.
This is a community whose DNA has been under assault on every level of government for years now. And I think that means that the fight has matured. I think it means people have have really suffered the consequences of the failed leadership of DeSantis and Donald Trump and others. But I don't think the DNA of Orlando has changed. I think it's still the same beautiful community that it always has been. I think people still love each other very much. They're willing to go to bat for each other. And I hope 10 years is a moment to recommit to honoring the people we lost, not just with flags or with pretty colors, but with our actions.
The love and compassion that filled Orlando in the days after Pulse stays with Brandon and gives him faith in the future.
Orlando has that kind of courage in spades. And it is my hope that 5 years from now, 10 years from now, people are inspired by our courage to go fight in their own communities.
Through it all, the heart of this story has never changed. 49 people went out to dance and never came home. 10 years later, their names still matter. Their lives still matter. And for many in Orlando, the responsibility to honor them never ends.